Oh, you're here. Good. I've got another betrayal story for you. Sit down. They say love makes you blind, but it also makes you stupid. And nothing proves it better than the night she told me about her debt. The same night I signed my future away. My name's Daniel. I'm 29, living in Chicago, and working as a project manager for a tech firm. I've always been proud of being steady, reliable, the kind of guy you could hand a schedule to and trust it would be done on time. But reliability has a downside. People start thinking you're safe, predictable, the perfect landing pad. And Mia, she knew exactly how to land on me. I met her on a Thursday night in the cereal aisle. I'd grabbed the cheapest brand off the bottom shelf, and she laughed. That stuff tastes like cardboard. I looked up, and she was standing there in ripped jeans, holding a box of Frosted Flakes like it was a golden trophy. She had this crooked smile that made you want to laugh back, even when she was laughing at you. We talked about nothing, about cereal, sugar, and how Chicago winters made people mean. Somehow, that nothing turned into us grabbing coffee the next night. Coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into late nights, and late nights turned into mornings where we didn't want to leave the bed. Mia had a way of making every ordinary thing feel like a story. A grocery run was a date. Folding laundry became a team effort. Paying rent felt like an adventure because she'd lean against me, smile, and say, "Look at us, real adults." And for a while, I believed we were building something solid. Within a year, she moved in. We picked out furniture together, scratched our initials into the leg of a coffee table like kids, and talked about a wedding that was always someday soon. Then came the night that flipped it all. She was quiet at dinner. Too quiet. Normally, Mia filled the silence with chatter, bouncing from topic to topic. But that night she kept pushing pasta around her plate. Finally, she looked up, eyes wet. "I need to tell you something." My stomach dropped. I thought she was about to end things. Instead, she whispered about debt. Old credit cards. Student loans she never finished paying. A payday loan from before she met me. "It's stupid," she said, wiping at her eyes. "It's all my fault. I'll fix it, I swear." Her voice cracked, and my instinct kicked in, the steady, reliable guy who always fixed things. I reached across the table, took her hand, and told her she wasn't alone, that we'd figure it out. I didn't even hesitate. Love does that. It makes you think sacrifice is proof. She resisted at first, saying she didn't want to drag me into it. But by the end of the night, she was in my arms, crying into my chest, while I promised her it was us against the world. By the weekend, we'd set up a joint account. I told myself it was just temporary. She'd contribute, I contribute, and together we'd climb out of the hole. The first month felt almost good, like we were fighting a common enemy. I'd sit at the kitchen table, laptop open, spreadsheets up, while she brought me coffee and kissed my cheek. Every payment we made felt like proof that we were a team. Every time the balance dropped, we'd high-five and joke about being financial warriors. I didn't see the cracks then. I didn't notice how her contributions were smaller, how mine always seemed to cover the gap. I didn't care that she stopped talking about saving for our wedding. All I cared about was the way she looked at me after every payment. With gratitude, with relief, with that same crooked smile from the cereal aisle. And that's how I became blind. Because in those moments, the debt wasn't just hers anymore. It was ours. I let it be ours. And I convinced myself that was what love was supposed to look like. Months turned into years, and the weight of debt slowly disappeared. Until the night it was finally gone, and so was she. I'll never forget the number on the screen. $0. After 2 years of dragging that balance like a ball and chain, the account finally showed nothing owed. Clean. I sat there staring at it, grinning like a fool, while Mia leaned against the counter, scrolling on her phone. "It's done," I told her. She barely looked up, just nodded and said, "That's amazing, babe." I didn't let her flat tone dampen me. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she was just processing. I was too busy feeling like a hero. I'd pulled us out of the fire, I thought. And what better way to mark the victory than to celebrate properly? So I booked her favorite restaurant, the place we'd gone on our first anniversary, the one where she ordered a steak she couldn't finish and spent the rest of the night teasing me for polishing off her plate. I reserved the exact same table by the window, asked them to have a bottle of her favorite wine ready. I wanted the night to feel like a new chapter, proof that all the sacrifice had been worth it. That evening, I put on my best suit, not the one for work meetings, but the one I'd been saving for big nights. I even polished my shoes, which I hadn't done since college. I caught my reflection in the mirror and thought, this is it. This is a turning point. The night we start living free. I got to the restaurant early. The waiter recognized me from the anniversary, smiled, and said, "Big night again?" I smiled back and nodded. Yeah, big night. I sat there, watching the door. Every time it swung open, my heart jumped. I picture her walking in, hair done, that smile lighting up the whole room. 10 minutes passed, then 20, then 30. The waiter circled back, asking if I wanted to start with appetizers. I laughed it off, said, "She's on her way," but inside, unease was starting to crawl. I checked my phone. No messages. I called once, straight to voicemail. I called again. Same thing. An hour passed. The wine was sweating on the table. My reflection in the glass looked less like a man celebrating and more like a man being stood up. A thought flashed through me. She wouldn't. Not tonight. I texted her, "Are you okay? Did something happen?" No response. Finally, I pulled up her contact and hit call again. This time, the message wasn't a voicemail. It was sharper. "This user has blocked incoming calls." I froze. Tried again. Same message. My chest hollowed out. Out of instinct, I opened her social media. Blocked. I opened our shared music app. She'd removed me. Venmo? Gone. It hit me like a free fall. She wasn't late. She wasn't coming. And this wasn't a mistake. I left the restaurant like a ghost. I didn't even taste the wine. Walking home, every step echoed with 2 years of sacrifice unraveling. All those nights paying bills, all those mornings waking up early to juggle overtime, all those dreams I thought we were building together, gone in the time it takes to hit block. At the apartment, her stuff was gone. Drawers empty. Closet bare. Even the stupid cereal bowls we joked about missing. She hadn't just skipped dinner. She'd erased herself. I sank into the couch and sat there in silence. Hours slipped by. The city outside alive and roaring, while inside I just stared at the dent in the carpet where her shoes used to sit. The hurt wasn't loud. It was heavy, suffocating. I didn't scream, didn't break anything. I just let the weight crush me until I couldn't feel anything anymore. The days blurred after that. Work, gym, sleep, repeat. My calendar became a loop. At the office, I buried myself in spreadsheets and deadlines, too numb to care about small talk. At the gym, I pushed my body until the ache in my muscles drowned out the ache in my chest. At night, I collapsed into bed, exhausted enough to avoid dreams. Friends tried to pull me out, but I wasn't ready. My mom called every other day, asking about wedding plans I no longer had the heart to cancel. I lied, said things were on pause, because saying the truth out loud felt like admitting I'd been nothing but a stepping stone in Mia's life. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, the raw wound scabbed over into something duller. I wasn't okay, but I was functional. And in my mind, that was good enough. Forget her. Forget everything. That was the plan. But forgetting her was never going to be that easy. 3 months later, I'd buried the heartbreak under muscle memory and sweat. Wake up, grind at work, hit the gym until my body screams, and collapse into bed. Rinse, repeat. If life had been a movie, this was a montage where the guy rebuilds himself. Not to chase anyone, but just to keep breathing. So when a buddy from the office invited me to a party, a friend of a friend thing, "Come on, man, you need it," I almost said no. The last thing I wanted was music too loud, drunk strangers spilling beer, and forced small talk. But after weeks of nothing but silence and the sound of my own treadmill, I said yes. Maybe part of me wanted to test if I could stand in a room full of life without feeling like a ghost. The party was in a loft, lights strung across exposed beams, music thumping low through the floor. People laughed, swayed, and clinked bottles. I blended into background, drink in hand, shoulders tense. I didn't belong here, but at least no one seemed to notice. Until I saw her, Mia, across the room, in a red dress that caught the light every time she moved. Her hair longer, styled in waves, her smile brighter than I remembered, and on her arm, a man I'd never seen before. She leaned into him, laughing, head thrown back like the last 2 years had never happened. For a second, I thought my mind was playing tricks, but no, it was her, the woman who blocked me, erased me, packed up her life, and vanished. She was right there, alive and dazzling like I'd never existed. And the craziest part? She didn't even notice me. 3 months of grinding at the gym had changed me more than I realized. I wasn't the same guy she left sitting in a restaurant waiting for her. My shoulders were broader, jaw sharper, hair shorter. To her, I was just another face in the crowd. I froze where I stood, heart hammering. Part of me wanted to storm over, demand answers, scream in her face. But another part, the bigger part, held me back. What would that accomplish? She'd only smirk, twist it, make me feel smaller than I already did. So I stayed quiet, letting the music cover the storm building inside me. That's when I heard him. The man she was with, tall, slick hair, expensive watch, was talking to another guy by the snack table, voice just loud enough to cut through the bass. He laughed, clapped the guy on the shoulder, and said, "Man, you wouldn't believe it. Some idiot paid off my debt for me. Cleared the whole thing. Didn't even blink. I swear, luckiest break of my life." The words sliced through me like glass. My drink slipped in my hand, condensation dripping onto the floor. My chest tightened, every muscle locking. Some idiot paid off my debt. Not hers. His. My vision tunneled, her laughter in the background turning into static. She cried to me, told me she was drowning, begged for help, and all along, it wasn't even her drowning. It was him. She used me to wipe his slate clean. Every dollar I bled for, every hour of overtime, every dream I put on hold, all of it had been for him. I wanted to laugh. I wanted to scream. Instead, I just stood there, numb, watching her lean into him like a queen celebrating her conquest. My heart had broken once already when she vanished. Now it felt like someone was twisting the shards deeper. I turned away, gripping the counter until my knuckles went white. No one else in that room knew the truth. To them, she was radiant, charming, alive. To me, she was a parasite. I told myself to leave. Just walk out, go home, let it go. But my legs wouldn't move. Because for the first time, forgetting wasn't enough. Knowing I'd been conned into paying another man's debt lit a fire under the ashes of my heartbreak. It wasn't just betrayal anymore. It was humiliation. And humiliation demanded a reckoning. I glanced back one more time. Mia twirled under the lights, glass in hand. The man she'd saved, grinning like he'd won the lottery. She still hadn't noticed me. But I noticed everything now. The way she touched his arm, the same way she used to touch mine. The way she whispered in his ear, same line she'd fed me. It was a script, and I'd been her practice run. The realization hit hard and cold. If she could do it to me and him, she'd do it again. To someone else. And someone after that. It wasn't love. It was a system. A hustle wrapped in lipstick and tears. I left the party without a word, the music fading behind me. But the silence that met me outside wasn't the same as before. It wasn't emptiness. It was a focus. Because that night, under the glow of the street lamps, I swore one thing. I wasn't going to be just another idiot in her story. The overheard words ate at me until I couldn't sleep. Forgetting her wasn't enough anymore. Not after realizing I'd spent 2 years paying off another man's debt. I needed the truth, all of it. The next morning, instead of going to the gym, I drove by the loft where the party had been. I didn't know what I was looking for, maybe proof, maybe closure. What I found was her, Mia, stepping out with her boyfriend, both dressed like they hadn't worked a day in their lives. She kissed him, waved, and walked down the street alone. Something in me clicked. I followed, not close enough to be obvious, but enough to watch her routine. She hit a cafe, lingered over coffee with a man in a suit who looked uneasy. Her hand touched his arm. Her voice dipped low, and I saw the same script I knew by heart. She gestured with her phone, face drawn into mock despair, the man nodding like he'd just been handed a mission. I didn't need audio. I knew that play. The emergency bill. The loan sharks breathing down my neck. The look of gratitude that made you believe you were her savior. By the third day of following, I'd mapped her pattern. She had a rotation of men, each playing a role. One drove her around, one paid for dinners, and one covered her utilities. She wasn't drowning. She was floating on the backs of idiots like me. I started piecing it together like a puzzle. Receipts she'd left in the apartment came back to mind. Odd charges that hadn't fit our story. The late-night work shifts that never added up. Every missing piece slid into place until the picture was undeniable. Mia wasn't unlucky. She was deliberate. The worst part? She was good at it. Too good. She could cry on command, make a lie sound like confession, and twist guilt into loyalty. I wonder how many other Daniels were out there, staring at zero balances and thinking they'd won. But this time, I wasn't just going to fade into her past. I wanted her cycle broken. I tracked down one of the men she'd been seeing most often, a guy in his 30s who looked permanently tired. I followed him home one evening, waited until Mia left his place, and then walked up to his door. My heart pounded as I knocked. For all I knew, I was about to get punched in the face by someone who thought I was jealous. The door cracked open. He had messy hair, dark circles, and suspicion all over his expression. "Yeah, Tom." I asked. He hesitated. "Who's asking?" I took a breath. "I'm Daniel. I think we've both been screwed by the same woman." The door almost shut in my face, but something in my tone must have landed. He opened it wider, eyes narrowing. "Mia?" I nodded. Tom let out a bitter laugh, rubbing his face like he was trying to wake up from a bad dream. "What did she take from you?" 2 years, I said, "and about 30 grand. His jaw clenched. "She got me for 20. Said it was medical bills. Said if I didn't help, she'd lose her apartment." I stepped inside, and we sat at his kitchen table. Empty beer bottles lined the counter, unopened bills stacked by the fridge. He didn't look like a deadbeat. He looked like me, worn down, tricked, humiliated. I told him everything. The fake debt, the joint account, the night she ghosted me. Tom listened, shaking his head, swearing under his breath. When I got to the part about overhearing his debt at the party, his hands balled into fists. Silence stretched between us. For the first time in months, I saw my own anger mirrored in someone else's face. Finally, Tom leaned forward. "So what do we do?" "Just let her keep going." I shook my head. "No, we end it." He smirked. But it wasn't humor. It was exhaustion sharpened into resolve. "Then I'm in." We clinked our beers together like a pact. Not out of friendship. Not yet, but out of shared betrayal. For the first time since Mia walked out of my life, I felt something other than loss. I felt purpose. We started at Tom's kitchen table. It looked like a war room by the second day. Receipts spread like maps, my screenshots pulled up on a laptop, sticky notes marking dates and charges. Every piece of evidence we had was a nail in the coffin we were building. I dug out the digital trail she thought she'd erased. Emails confirming emergency transfers, Venmo requests with vague notes like for the doctor or help me just this once. Tom had hard copies, invoices with her handwriting scribbled across them, proof she'd promised to pay back soon. The patterns lined up too perfectly. Same story, different victims. One night, Tom leaned back in his chair, eyes red from staring at the mess. "You know what kills me?" he said. "She was with me the whole time, even when she was living with you." I froze. "What?" "She never left," he said flatly. "She'd crash at your place, spin you some sob story, then show up at mine like nothing happened. Said she was working late, or out with friends. She was running both of us in circles. Hell, she introduced me to her cousin once. Turns out that was another guy she was bleeding." The words punched me harder than I expected. I thought I'd moved past a heartbreak, but hearing she'd never been mine at all, not even for a moment, was like learning an entire relationship had been scripted. I leaned forward, fist tight. "Then it ends now. Not with screaming, not with violence. We burn her mask in front of everyone." Tom nodded, and that became the mission. We tracked her movements for a week, cross-referencing with charges, hitting our old accounts. That's when we found him. Her next mark, a wealthy guy, divorced, eager to impress. He was already paying her bills, flashing her around like a trophy. He fit her pattern too perfectly. A man who'd never believed the truth until it was shoved in his face. The confrontation needed to be public. Private anger wouldn't break her cycle. We needed humiliation, witnesses, something she couldn't spin into another sob story. Tom had an idea. She won't resist showing him off at parties. She thrives on the audience. He was right. Within days, we learned she planned to drag him to a networking event hosted by one of his business partners. Expensive loft, lots of people, drinks flowing. Exactly the kind of spotlight Mia couldn't resist stepping into. That would be our stage. But it wasn't enough just to show up. We needed credibility. So we quietly reached out to people who'd been dragged into her scams. The boutique clerk remembered her well. The orders shipped under Daniel's name. The sudden cancellations, the excuses. She agreed to speak if pressed. The bank investigator had flagged unusual account activity months ago, but without formal complaints, his hands had been tied. When we handed him the evidence, he agreed to attend the event unofficially, just in case things went south. Even Mr. Patel, my old landlord, had a story. Mia had once charmed him into extending our rent deadline, then left me scrambling to cover the shortfall. He didn't owe her anything, and when he saw the stack of receipts, his only question was, where and when? Piece by piece, the net tightened. The night before the event, Tom and I sat in his apartment, surrounded by the evidence. Our arsenal. The air was heavy, but not with doubt, with anticipation. "You ready for this?" he asked. I stared at the piles of paper, the screenshots glowing on my laptop. 2 years of my life, reduced to dates and numbers. It should have felt hollow. Instead, it felt like armor. "Yeah," I said, "I'm done being the victim." We went over the plan again. Wait until Mia had all eyes on her, then strike. Tom would start with receipts. I'd follow with screenshots, and our witnesses would confirm the rest. No theatrics, no shouting match. Just cold, undeniable truth. That night, I lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling. My hands itched, not from nerves, but from anticipation. For months, I drowned in silence, trying to move on. But now, for the first time, I wasn't running from her shadow. I was walking straight into it, not to be consumed, but to tear it down. By dawn, my decision was carved in stone. Tomorrow, Mia's game ends. And this time, she wouldn't even see me coming. The night arrived, and Mia stepped into the room as if she owned it. But this time, the stage wasn't hers. It was ours. The loft was buzzing with energy, a cocktail of expensive cologne, clinking glasses, and a hum of people trying too hard to impress one another. Tom and I stood near the back, blending into the noise. My pulse thudded in my ears, but not from nerves. This wasn't fear anymore. It was anticipation. Then she walked in. Mia, draped in a silk dress that caught the light like she'd woven it from gold. On her arm was her latest mark, the divorced businessman we'd seen her dangling like a prize. She clung to him with practiced intimacy, whispering in his ear, laughing just a little too loudly, making sure the whole room saw her. It was the same script she'd used on me and on Tom. The same moves were recycled for her next victim. My stomach churned with disgust, but my face stayed calm. Tonight wasn't about emotions. Tonight was about ending her performance for good. We let her bask in the spotlight for a while, greeting people with that flawless smile, ordering drinks she had no intention of paying for. She was in her element, spinning lies as naturally as breathing. But then Tom caught my eye, gave me a slight nod. It was time. He stepped forward first. Funny thing, Mia. Tom's voice cut through the chatter. You forgot to pay back this. He held up a stack of receipts, each one damning. Her handwriting was there, the promises scrawled across them. I'll pay you back soon. Just until next week. Please, you're the only one I can trust. The crowd hushed, eyes turning toward her. Mia blinked, her smile faltering for the first time. Tom, what are you? Then I moved in, and here's what she told me. I pulled up my phone, screenshots glowing in the dim light, Venmo requests, desperate messages, fabricated emergencies. Her voice echoed in my memory as I read them aloud. Daniel, please, I'll lose everything if you don't help me. Just this once. Her boyfriend frowned, leaning back from her. What the hell is this? Mia's hands fluttered like broken wings. It's not what it looks like, baby. They're twisting it. But the trap was already closing. The boutique clerk stepped forward, voice trembling but firm. She used his account to buy luxury goods. Same shipping address, different names. She pointed at me, then at Tom. Always under their cards, never hers. The bank investigator, cool and detached, added, multiple fraudulent activities tied to her accounts. Repeated patterns. We've been monitoring for months. And finally, Mr. Patel, arms crossed, said she sweet-talked her way into late rent and left him to cover it alone. Classic scam. Every word was another weight dragging her down. The room shifted, admiration turning into disgust. Her boyfriend's face twisted with betrayal as he shoved her off his arm. You used me? No, she pleaded, reaching for him. Baby, listen, they're lying. He stepped back, voice sharp. You said you loved me. You said I was the only one. Tom barked a humorless laugh. Yeah, join the club. The crowd murmured, judgment spreading like wildfire. Every pair of eyes was on Mia now, not with admiration but contempt. Her mask crumbled under the weight of exposure. She tried to beg. She tried to cry. But no one listened. The tears that once unlocked wallets now looked like cheap theatrics. Her empire of manipulation, built on lies, sob stories, and stolen trust, collapsed in a single night. Finally, she grabbed her purse, shoulders trembling, and pushed through the crowd. No one stopped her. No one reached out. The door slammed behind her, and the room exhaled. It was over. I stood there, phone still in my hand, staring at the door she just disappeared through. For months, I thought I wanted revenge. I imagined screaming at her, demanding answers, watching her break. But in the end, none of that mattered. She'd already lost everything that made her powerful. Her lies, her victims, her stage. And me? I'd already moved on. This wasn't about reclaiming my past. It was about giving Tom the closure he needed, about making sure she couldn't hurt anyone else. Tom clapped me on the shoulder, eyes wet but burning with relief. Couldn't have done it without you, man. I shook his hand firmly. She thought she was playing us. Turns out we played her. We both laughed, not with joy, but with something better. Freedom. Walking out of that loft, I realized something I hadn't expected. Mia had taken my money, my time, and 2 years of my life. But in the wreckage, I'd found something I never thought I would. A true friend. Tom. And I weren't just victims anymore. We were survivors. Brothers forged out of betrayal. And Mia? She was just another con artist finally stripped of her mask. What about you? If you found out your partner used you to pay off someone else's debt secretly, would you walk away or strike back? Do you think Daniel did the right thing teaming up with Tom? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And hey, if you want more stories like this, hit subscribe and stick around.